Rotary Club of the Year. So we've been looking forward to that all the way along, coming and visiting with your club. Of course, we're not strangers to your club, having been at your marvelous 60th anniversary celebration, and then the Taste of the Philippines just the other evening, and I think we'll probably see some of you at the charter night for the Vancouver Mountain View Club coming up this Saturday. So great to be here, and wonderful to be here and acknowledge all the great work that you do in your community, your projects overseas in Laos and Chile, the great news on your splash park in Ladner. We're going to go and have a look at that site after we leave here and check it out. You do have to check out Rotary5040.org, Dawn's Diary, because we will write up about our visit here in your club. So that'll come up in a little while, so something you can watch for. Also, congratulations on the wonderful job you're doing with the Interact Club, whom I understand at this moment are selling Krispy Kreme donuts. Are we in the wrong place or the right place?
We'll be there later on. Yeah.
So great news on that, and congratulations again for all the fine work you're doing. I'm going to talk about a number of things today, but the theme is really the bigger world of Rotary, and we're going to be somewhat interactive. And to help make sure there's interactivity, we have a little bottle of wine to give away. This is foundation wine, even though the label doesn't say it. So the donation's been made to the foundation, but they ran out of labels. It was so successful. They raised over $8,000 with this promotion last year. So someone will go home with this, and the judge, not the one with the red badge, this judge here will decide who that is. That way I'm off the hook. That way I'm off the hook, you see. So I'm going to give you a few updates on some of the priorities for the year and talk about a couple of things. And right off the bat, encourage you to give some feedback as well and ask some questions as we go, because that's what it's all about. Who knows what our Rotary theme for the year is?
Making a difference.
Making a difference. That's the easy question. It's hanging right there, and you all have a theme pin to take home. So please do wear those with pride throughout the year. Our president, Ian Risley, is from Australia, a place that John and Claire don't know terribly well. And we just saw Ian and Juliet this past week in Hartford at the Zone Institute. I think we're blessed with an outstanding Rotary International president this year. Did any of you get to meet him when he was here last November? Good, a few. Excellent, excellent. Well, he's coming back.
How long he was here?
What was the year for
He
November?
was here in May. We all met him in May, too.
In May, too.
He came here in May?
That was Jern.
That was John Germ.
Oh, next year.
That's a -1 for Patricia on the line, but she'll get even. Yeah, that was John Germ. No, Ian was here last November. He did a session downtown on Foundation up the valley, and he was in Prince George as well. And John Anderson decided that we should try and get him back. And so we did a little lobbying, taking around, made a presentation, and we were successful in achieving that. And he will be back in February for a little event called the Presidential Conference on Peace and Environmental Sustainability. Now, I usually do a bit of a pitch for this conference, but as the chair of the conference is sitting right there in the room, John Anderson from Tawasin, I'm not going to make a pitch this time because you can sign up with him right here. Right, John? All right. And if you need help, there's little blue cards in the center of the table, but John will sign you up. And we hope many of you will come out and see Ian and Juliet and the many wonderful speakers we're going to have on peace and environmental sustainability. Because one of the directional thrusts of Rotary is on the environment. And so that's the topic of the conference, and you can expect to see more and more linkage between caring for the environment and the whole notion of peace and how those different things fit together. So that is one of Rotary's thrusts for 2017 going forward, 2018, and something that you see. Basically, if we look after the necessities of life for human beings all over the world, and we look after our planet, the chances of a peaceful future are much greater than if we do the opposite. So that's how those pieces fit together, and a very important direction. Now, the other important thing that we're doing this year that's new in Rotary is we're measuring the output of Rotary. And our president, Ian, is an accountant, and he says that we should know, and he says this rightly, by the way, we should know in measurable terms what Rotary does around the world. Many of you work in nonprofits or participate in nonprofits, as certainly I do, and you know that we do things like track the amount of volunteerism, track the amount of financial contribution. So this year, Rotary has started the process of tracking our volunteer hours, and every club is asked to collect those, put them together, and enter them in Rotary Club Central. The process is now up and working to do that, and we're after really two numbers. And those numbers are the total number of volunteer hours done worldwide by Rotary, and the amount of financial contribution to service done worldwide by Rotary. Now, the average Rotary Club in the world is currently 36 members. We have a club in our district that's tracked volunteer hours for some time that's just that size, and they do somewhere around 10,000 hours a year in a club of 35. Anybody know how many Rotary clubs we have in the world? Too low.
35,640.
Well, just a bit high.
I'm disqualified because I saw you speak at the Placido.
Yes, that's true. You are disqualified. You've seen this before. 35,200 and some is the current number. So here's what I want you to do is some math. If a club of 35 is an average, and it does 10,000 a year, and there's 35,200 clubs, do you think that's a few hours? Yeah. Probably more than any other organization in the world, or close to that. So we want to know that, because it's part of telling our story, is being able to articulate what we do as volunteers in the world and what we contribute to making the world a better place. This will be an oncoming standard for Rotary, so we should get used to it, get our systems up, and look after it. So you can expect that data to be released as we go forward, and we encourage you all to contribute your data to that, and it's up to each club the process they use to collect it. All we need to know is the results of the collecting. Now, Rotary is driven by a strategic plan. And I'm sure you'd be all very surprised to hear me utter those two words from my mouth, strategic plan. But Rotary is. So who can tell me what Rotary's highest priority internal objective is? Who said membership?
Membership, yeah.
Membership is the right answer. So I want to talk a little bit about membership and membership growth, because we are doing much better than we were. Now, North America is still declining while the rest of the world is growing, but we have added 35,000 Rotarians in the last year to the net total, so we have 1.2235 million Rotarians right now in the world. Right here in our own district, we're doing very well as well. We just were in Hartford, and past District Governor Lynn received the award for the district with the highest membership growth in Zone 24. Because our district is growing. At the start of her year, we were 1,613 in numbers. At the start of this year, we're 1,642, and we are now 1,475. So we are growing significantly. And many people ask, well, what's the secret to growing a Rotary Club? It's really challenging to get new members, especially younger members in some of our clubs. And that is true. But Rotary worked through a process through the Council of Legislation and has given clubs new flexibility on how they meet, where they can meet, how often they can meet, and how they track attendance. All of this has changed now. And so clubs are free to tailor themselves to their own communities, their own constituencies. And I think one of the things that we're seeing happen is because of this flexibility, we're seeing some growth start in the existing clubs, but we're able to start new clubs. And so one of the secrets to the growth that we had in our district last year was the success in establishing a new club, the Rotary Club of Vancouver Mountain View. You know, we got a net 13 gain in existing clubs, and we picked up 24 with a new club. So you can see how effective that is in the growth strategy. Right now in our district, we have 4 new clubs in the works. Lillooet has become a provisional club, so I'm suspecting we'll charter a new club in Lillooet within the next little while. Tom Smith's up meeting with them tomorrow as they get established. We have a young professionals club in the making for Vancouver. It'll be a totally new model club. It won't be bound to meeting weekly like some of us do in our traditional clubs. It can be lower cost, and it'll be focused around that particular constituency at a different time of day. So we have the latitude now to do things quite differently. And that is Rotary's formula for growth. And Rotary is really aggressively working on turning around membership growth in North America as well as the rest of the world. So we're excited about that, and we are seeing some things. My goal is to get us past 1,500 again, and we're closing in on that now, and with a new club or two, I think we'll make that in this Rotary year. Now, most of our existing clubs are doing okay as well. In our district, 21 of our clubs have gained members, 8 of our clubs have stayed the same, and the balance have declined for that net gain of plus 13 that we had in the past year. And this year we're doing quite well. I think you guys are on track for adding 2 to 3 this year and working on that. So we're encouraging clubs to continue to work to add members, but we're also encouraging new clubs at the same time. So if membership is Rotary's #1 internal priority, what is its #1 external priority?
Eradicate polio.
Polio. Who said polio first? Polio, that's right. And it's absolutely correct, and how could we not acknowledge that on World Polio Day with our purple fingers? Because it's an absolutely important task for us to finish. So unfortunately, just this past week, we had the 12th case of 2017. So we're not to 0 yet. However, last year we had 34 cases, so unless something happens, we're going to clearly have cut that at least in half and be down. And at the International Convention in Atlanta this year, past President John Germ took on the challenge of leading the final phase of the polio campaign, which is called Countdown to History. So you will see that used more and more now in the Rotarian and the other things, Countdown to History, because we are almost there. And we're almost there to the point that we're aiming for 0 cases and then 3 months or 3 years of sustaining that. We actually went 3.5 months without a case this year until this 12th case occurred, unfortunately, but we keep working at it. Now there's a big price tag to finish the job, because we have to continue immunizing full on in all of the endemic or recently endemic countries until it's done over the 3 years. And in Atlanta, it was announced that that price tag was $1.5 billion US to finish the job. And there were some gasps in them. What followed then was probably one of the most awesome hours of my Rotary life. As on that Tuesday morning, after that was announced and John Germ had said his piece, Bill Gates came on stage with another $450 million. The Government of Canada, Minister from Ottawa, showed up with $1 million Canadian. And one by one, people walked across the stage, including governments of Nigeria, Pakistan, some of the recently endemic countries, with 134 and 150 million each. And by the end of the hour, 1.2 billion of that 1.5 was pledged. It was awesome. So we will finish the job. and it is not optional. Someone asked, what would happen if we stopped now? Any guesses? We'd have 200,000 cases a year worldwide within 10 years. So we will not stop, we will get the job done, and you will expect to see Rotary continuing to campaign as you're seeing to contribute to polio. Rotary's commitment is going to maintain at $50 million a year, the same as we've done the last 2 years. So it'll be maintained at the present level for the next 3 years, and hopefully by that time we'll have the end firmly in grasp. A couple of other just brief things. These are sort of some little announcements now. Firstly, Rotary Leadership Institute is back. Anybody here a RLI grad? Good. So Rotary Leadership Institute 1 operated in September. It was run in Richmond, and RLI 2 is next weekend in Burnaby. And then there will be an RLI 3 and a repeat of RLI 1 in November because the first one sold out. Great news. We had a full complement and turned some people away on RLI 1, so it's going to run again on November the 28th. It was great to see it back because Rotary provides some of the best leadership training in the world. And it's all available to any of us as Rotarians right here in our backyard. So if you haven't attended a Rotary Leadership Institute, give it some thought. Even if you're a long-time Rotarian, so much has changed in Rotary that the Rotary Leadership Institute will help you learn about the changes that have happened and help keep you current, as well as introduce you to some wonderful people. I'm delighted and was quite excited to see that the new club of Mountain View had 8 at RLI 1. 8 of their new charter members were at RLI 1. So talk about enthusiasm. It was actually wonderful. So keep an eye on that. In the new year, we are going to prototype a new Rotary Leadership Institute online version to help extend RLI to the terraces and the smithers and the places that it's much harder or much more costly to get people to come in from. So some good things happening on RLI. Business networking. If you need a service, a product, a realtor, is there anyone you'd rather do business with than a Rotarian? I hope not. Oh, now there's some debate here. So I'm delighted to let you know that the Rotary 5040 business networking site is up and running. Any one of you can go to rotary5040.org, click the business networking icon, and register yourself, your business, and be part of our Rotarian directory for all of Rotary 5040. So it took a bit, we got it up, it is live active, you can register, you can put your business up, and you can now search by category, by location, by name, anything you want, and find a Rotarian that provides the services or goods that you are looking for. And I went in there this morning, there's somewhere north of 50 already up and registered. There's a one-time $10 fee, and that's it. It is one time. That's just to recover the cost of the software. So do consider that, have a look at it, and you can access it from the district site. Our Rotary Wildfire Fund, as you know, there's been more than our fair share of disasters this year, including our own Caribou region, where we had some significant fires through the summer and evacuated many, many people. And Deb and I had a chance to really understand and appreciate what happens when these wildfires happen, because, you know, we see it on TV for a week and then they shift somewhere else. Meanwhile, the communities are still going on recovering for the year. And if you think about it, what you find when you go to the communities and talk to them is employers lost their employees. They left and never came back. They lost a whole season of business. Businesses folded. Students who had summer jobs lost their summer jobs and couldn't go back to school. Farmers lost an entire year of crops. Cattlemen lost their ranches and their production. It just goes on and on and on. And sometimes we think of the trees burned and some structures burned, but we don't see the real impact on what happened to those communities. So we established our Rotary BC Wildfire Recovery Fund. It will close to donations on the 31st of October. I'm pleased to say it's passing the $50,000 mark, so we're going to have some significant funds to pass on to the 4 Rotary clubs in the affected areas, which are 100 Mile House, Grinnell, and 2 in Williams Lake. They've now been asked to identify projects that they would like to take on as part of the wildfire recovery process, and those projects will also be eligible to apply for matching district grants. So we're going to help with the recovery in that way, and there's still time to donate if you wish. It's up to you, but by the 31st of October, we will shift over to disbursement of the funds and help these folks get back on their feet. It's been quite a traumatic summer for them, and it is still going on. You know, I'll tell a little story because I got a moment when we were in Prince George. We visited some of the evacuation centers, and of course, a lot of the volunteers at this big evacuation center were Rotarians from the Rotary clubs in Prince George. But we went to do our governor visits, and we visited all 3 Prince George clubs in 1 week. It doesn't get easier than this. All 3 of them meet Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the same hotel. And the very first day we were there, a young lady came in, and she said, introduced herself, and she said, I'm a nurse, and I'm from Williams Lake. I got evacuated with all of my dialysis patients. I had to get them here to Prince George. They're in an evacuation center, but the paperwork and the bureaucracy isn't allowing me to register dialysis patients at a hospital from another place in our own province. Can someone help? She came to Rotary because she was a former exchange student. So someone in the club got working with her. Next day she came to the next club, and by Thursday it was all looked after. Rotarians rose to the challenge, knew the way through, knew who to talk to, got it all arranged, and she looked after her patients. Can you imagine situations like that? You know, we don't even dream about some of the things that go on in these kinds of disaster situations. I'll just wrap up by pitching a couple of events that I really want you to consider participating in. Firstly, coming up on the 18th of November is our Rotary 5040 District Foundation Dinner. It is Saturday. It's going to be at the Terminal City Club in Vancouver. The Terminal City Club has decided to sponsor it, so it's a good price. It's $100, but that includes wine. So multi-course buffet, beautiful room, wine, all included for $100, and this is our only foundation fundraising event for the year. So we really want you to consider it. I'd like to also ask each club if you would consider some contribution to the auction. There are forms on the center of the table with the information about the dinner. There's also a donation form. It's being held up there. You can look at it. It would be really nice to have representation from all of the clubs in the Lower Mainland. The Rotary Club of Vancouver is organizing the dinner. That part's going well. You can register for the dinner now at the district website, 504.org. It's all open and taking reservations, and I hope to see many of you there supporting our foundation. You know, last year we had a fabulous $1 million dinner. We won't be doing that this year, and so one of my targets is to try and match last year's ongoing contributions. Now, the $1 million dinner was mostly bequests and endowments, but on the annual fund, the same target as we had last year. And so the foundation dinner in the Lower Mainland is a really big piece of that. And of course, November is Foundation Month. And lastly, of course, we have a district conference. And our district conference, as someone mentioned, is going to be at a facility in Squamish that I've had some involvement with over the years. But it will be unique. You'll be able to dine by the Royal Hudson and hear some incredible speakers and have some great fun in a park-like setting as well. So it is May 31st to June the 3rd, 2018, and we have some incredible speakers coming. We have General Mackenzie, Brigadier General Mackenzie, who was the Canadian peacekeeper, head of the Canadian forces in Afghanistan for several years as a peacekeeper. We have Chief Ian Campbell of the Squamish Nation, who is going to come and talk to us about integration. We have Nancy Hughes. If anyone, you were at PETS, all of you would have seen Nancy Hughes, who was a regular Rotarian who never saw herself as changing the world and suddenly found herself doing just that. We'll have Rotary Peace Fellow Eduardo da Costa, who has gone through the master's program and is a Rotary Peace Scholar. He's currently doing his PhD in Winnipeg, and he's applying his conflict resolution skills in the Amazon rainforest, working on environmental sustainability along with the needs of the people there. And lastly, we'll have Mitty Chang. Has anybody heard Mitty Chang speak? No, not even John. Yeah, Hudson. So Mitty Chang started a Rotaract club down in the San Francisco area about 6-7 years ago. It morphed into a young professionals Rotary club. And Mitty has an absolutely amazing presentation on what Rotary of the future might look like. Anybody guess how old Mitty is?
25.
He's in his 20s, be 28 by the time he comes to see us. He's spoken to 3 Rotary International conferences, audiences of 40 to 50,000, and he's agreed to come and speak to us, and I'm just absolutely delighted. Now, we're running a youth conference in conjunction with it, so interact, listen up. And it's going to be done at Quest University, so it's going to have some of its own programming, plus some integration with the other conference. They'll come and participate in the barbecue in the park on Friday night. They'll join us for a couple of the key speakers like Mitty and Eduardo, who are then going to go and do breakout workshops with the young folks up at Quest. So it's going to be a great time. We hope you'll all consider coming, and we'd love to see you all there. We have cards on the tables for that. It's called Piecing It Together. And if you write your name and email on the back of the cards, Deb will collect them, and we will look after the rest. And one of the cards will get drawn at the end of our club visits for a free registration. So consider that, and we hope to see you all at the district conference. So that's all of my topics. How are we doing? Just about there. So Mike, now are there any questions any of you might have that I might address or talk to? Yeah.
We all know what the problem is with it's polio, but what about the cause? Like when we cured polio and it's been cured for 3 years,